Welcome to Kung Fu Africa number 2. This is my second attempt at this. So I'm taking this video from TikTok for the topic. Okay. So this topic is a very touchy topic. If you are a member of the alphabet community, sit tight. You might actually watch one of my videos and enjoy the damn thing. So it's about transgender sports. Alright? So I take this video off of TikTok, my 2 videos and my take off of TikTok, and then my third take will be right here on Instagram. Excuse me, YouTube. Sorry, I'm a little angry right now. So, let's attempt this one more time.
Women compete in their identity sport. Okay, fine. Finally, I'm answering it. Fine. I've been asked 50 times. Y'all, it's not a yes or no answer. I feel like people forget that there's a gray area. There is a literal child who is a trans girl, and she wants to play basketball with the other 10-year-old girls at her school. There should not be an issue, unless you have issues. But if we're talking about the Olympics, and someone that day decides that they are transgender, and all of a sudden wants to compete in the other sport, that's also an issue. Now, I'm not even saying that last one actually happened. It does not happen. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's just a yes or no, ban all trans people, or yes, let every trans person compete wherever the heck they want answer. I feel it's way more complicated than that, but we are trying to argue for this black and white situation that is really actually very complicated. Okay, calming down. Sorry I got heated. And of course, I hope this helps. Trans women compete in their identity sport. Okay, fine. Finally.
So, you got that part. So we're going to go to my 2
Trans women compete in their
takes
identity
on it.
sport. Okay, fine. Finally, I'm answering it. Fine. I've been asked.
Okay, this is like my 3rd or 4th attempt at this. It's the same thing with recording. Yes, it is. Alright, so first, let's try to do this respectfully without offending anyone in the alphabet community. So go watch that video, and then you can come back, and then you can either agree or disagree with me. So, my only problem is solving this problem. And my solution is really simple, because there are millions and millions of dollars to be made, earned, and for people to get paid. So, let's throw this out here. Why is there not a transgender league for every sport, including MMA and every sport beyond? Now, hear me out, because when women wanted to play basketball, we came up with the WNBA. When we wanted the ladies to play golf, they came up with the LPGA. So what's the problem? Millionaires own these things. And everybody wants to bitch and complain about transgender men beating on
I worded that wrong,
non-transgender
by the way.
women and breaking all the transgender records.
I worded that wrong also.
Now, as far as teenagers are concerned and kids, they're off limits. They're off limits. Let kids be kids. If they want to identify whatever, let them do that. Leave them the fuck alone, because they're kids. As far as sports and adults, there should be a transgender league so there can be transgender MMA. That way you don't have to hear about a woman being beat up by a woman who used to be a man. I'm probably not wording this right, so please forgive me for anything that I say that is offensive, because I don't know how to word it right, because I do not live in y'all community. I respect your community, but I do not live in your community. So, not living in your community makes it a little bit more difficult to try to explain it without being offensive. So, please forgive me if I have offended. There will have to be a second part to this. But the simple fact is, in all honesty, if we have transgender league for female hockey players, transgender league for female basketball players, or baseball players, or whatever sport there is, why is there not a transgender league to support all the sports, just like our NBA, our NFL, our NHL, and whatever the hell baseball is? You know, I mean, I don't know.
So clearly I have no shit about sports. Okay. So, here's part 2.
Finally, I'm answering it. Fine. I've been asked 50 times. Y'all, it's not a yes or no.
Part 2. This is my second attempt at part 2. I will have to pause periodically just so I don't have to make a part 3. Okay? So, this is my second attempt at this. And basically, it all boiled down to, why can't we let them have their own league so that they can have their own competition amongst themselves and everybody who's normal like myself or whatever. And I'm not complaining. I'm just making a statement that people like me are complaining. Normal men and women are bitching and complaining about shit that transgender people really aren't responsible for, because they have the right to compete. So if they have the right to compete, where are the millionaires trying to make the money? Because there you have it right there. 1 second. I may have to make this a YouTube topic just because it is a touchy topic, you know. And I'm not against transgender people competing in certain sports like track and field and, you know, other sports, weightlifting and things like that. I'm not against that. I am against transgenders competing in women's sports. I am against transgender women competing in women's sports that are more physical, that involve mortal combat.
I'm going to explain that in a minute.
If transgender women are going to fight cis women in a ring or anything like that, I am against that to a degree. Let's put it that way. I can't say I'm fully against it because I follow a wrestler who is transgender, the Native Beast. So, and she competes against women. And now you see where I'm conflicted at, because I'm like, all right, well, Nyla Rose kicks ass, and she's fighting women, but she's also transgender. So it's kind of fucked up. I didn't know she was transgender until like about a year or two ago. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to follow her. I am an avid wrestling fan, and the Native Beast is a beast. So, hey, don't get mad. She might slam you through a table. She has competed against men.
Okay, so you get the gist of where I'm going. All right. So about maybe a year, maybe 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years ago, transgender female Fallon Fox has been on the controversy. You know, Joe Rogan and them brought her up. And now you see why I'm on the fence. All right, so let me explain wrestling before I go any further, because I am a wrestling fan. I have the biggest crush on Zeta Zhang, who is not transgender, but I also like Nyla Rose, who is transgender, who has competed against men and women, just like my future wife Zeta Zhang, who has also competed against men and women. Go follow them. You will see their matches. I promise you, you will not be disappointed in either one of those beautiful women. Now, I do not date transgender women, so if you are offended by that, I'm honest and I am sorry. But here's where my bias comes in. See, when it comes to wrestling, wrestling is combat. The moves and everything is real. The trash talking and shit leads to drama. The drama is settled in the ring, and then everybody goes on about their day. Having Nyla Rose compete in wrestling with females and males is okay. They are not in a ring setting where there are a certain set of rules and laws that can seriously hurt people. You are not getting in that wrestling ring without some kind of knowledge of the ropes, without some kind of training. I mean, some people born to be in the ring, all right? They go to the wrestling schools, they do the damn thing, they get jobs, they get signed on, and boom, bang, bang, they're in there, and they become champions, okay? Cool. Now, this is where my bias comes in, because if they're competing in the wrestling ring, we all know that wrestling is a sport. It is not a blood sport, and that it is highly regulated. It is as safe as you can get, or as safe as they can make it, and accidents do happen in the ring. Now, we're going to switch over to MMA, and MMA is a little bit more of my level. And no, I have not legally competed in an MMA ring, but I have been in enough street fights to know how fights work. All right, so as a man, and a small man that I am, at 5'3" and $125, all right? I don't weigh shit, but I know I can beat anybody, all right? And I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just putting that out there. I can beat anybody, because I'm not going to sit there and just lay there and let you punch the fuck out me. I'm going to put up a fight. Now, if you catch me sleeping and you knock me the fuck out, that's on me. Now, if you're going around and you beat my ass and you kick me while I'm down and you're going around, and doing all this bullshit, two things that have better happened. I better be completely unconscious for about 2 days, or I better be dead. Because if I'm still breathing, I'm going to fuck your shit up. Alright? Just because you got happy, you beat my ass, and then you started bragging and doing all this other shit, and now I got to bring you down a notch. Because pride cometh before a fall. Now, the Fallon Fox thing. This is where my bias kicks in. Alright. There are plenty of good women that's good with the hands. They're great with the hands. But see, when it comes to a transgender female fighting a normal or cis female or whatever the fuck title y'all choose to give them, something out about this labeling bullshit. A man is naturally stronger than a woman for the most part. You know, now, unless that transgender person was like a 95-pound weakling who was exceptionally feminine in the face and didn't have a lot of upper body strength or natural ability, and if that transgender is fighting another said transgender person in the ring, I'm okay with that. But if that transgender person is built like me, because I'm not small, you know, I got a little bit of size to me on certain body parts, and I'm shorter than the average woman. I am actually the size of the average Vietnamese woman. So at 5'3.5", you know, if I'm transgender and I'm fighting a 5'3.5" female and we're the same weight, the same build, the same skill level, I kind of got to let it go because I'm small, she's small, and it's about right. Alright? But if I'm 5'7", and for 20 years of my life, I've been this man. I didn't transition when I was a teenager, but I've been a grown man for 25 years. I've bulked up. I have more strength and more muscle than the average woman who's just competing. So I would be beyond peak level female athlete and just under peak level male athlete. I should not be competing in the ring with females who are naturally females. I am so wording everything out of my mouth wrongly, so please forgive me if you're in the alphabet community. I do not know how to word this shit without offending you, and I'm probably going to offend you for the next 25 minutes. So I apologize to you now. Fallon Fox was an issue. All right? I do not have the stats on how tall she is or how much Fallon Fox weighs. But what I do know that Fallon Fox destroyed that young lady that she was in the ring with, which is an unfair advantage due to Fallon Fox being male at one point in her life and having more strength, more testosterone, more agility, and probably has been fighting a little longer than her competitor. So this is why I say, in wrestling, I'm okay with transgender wrestlers because that set of rules is going to be there for no one to get hurt. When you are in a MMA ring, you have a set of rules that you still have to follow. And that set of rules is pretty much the same as the male rules. You know, you can't hit them in the crotch. You can't gouge out their eyes. You can't purposely break something. You can't go for a throat shot. You know, you can't try to kill that person in that ring. But in cases like this with the Fallon Fox thing, Fallon wasn't trying to do anything to kill the female, but she clearly had a more masculine advantage at beating her female opponent. Hopefully this is making sense without offending anybody. And I'm not, like, pissing on Fallon Fox, alright? I don't care two shits about her lifestyle or whatever. It's just that, like, it became a thing. Joe Rogan and them, and damn near everybody, pushed it to the forefront, alright? And transgender athletes have been a thing for at least the last 4 years that I've been aware of. I don't really follow sports outside of golf, like ladies golf, and I follow wrestling. I follow men's hockey. That's pretty much it. The Penguins have been sucking, and they're my favorite team. And the Mighty Ducks, God only knows when or if they're ever coming back, not the TV show, the actually hockey players, the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Now, outside of that, I can name maybe 3 or 4 female golfers. I can name maybe 1 female snowboarder, which is Chloe Kim. That shows you how much I really follow sports, right? For female golfers, my favorite at the moment is still Lydia Ko. She needs to snap her game back up like she did a few years ago. And, God damn it, I can't think of the other one name. But my favorite golfer of all time was always Sari Pak. And then Michelle Wie. And then a couple of other ones. but I can't remember their names. I know that they're mostly were Korean by way of Australia or Korean by way of South Korean. And Michelle Wee's American. Sammy Park was Korean, South Korean rather. So, you know, I'm up to speed on some sports. I'm not up to I like female ice skating. But, you know, you can kind of call me perverted on that one, but because I'm always looking up their dresses. No, they're wearing dresses. It's part of the uniform, not perverted. It's just what they wear. Now, some ladies do wear pants. Okay? So, cool. Whatever makes them happy. I just want to see them perform and pray that they don't fall on the ice. Now, back to the MMA transgender thing. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that transgender females should compete in the MMA circuit unless they're competing against other transgender females, which goes back to part 2. Why is there not a transgender league so that the transgender athletes, male and female alike, can compete in their category, in their sport? There are millions to be made. Like I said in part 1, when the ladies wanted to play basketball, we came up with the WNBA. They got their own league of sports. There is a lingerie football league. I didn't want to sound perverted when I said that. I'm sure that came off as perverted as fuck. There is ladies PGA, LPGA, the ladies professional golf, something or another. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that. I'm sorry, Sari and Michelle Reed. But, you know, there are lady sports. The WNBA as well. I don't think there's a women's hockey league, but I know there's women's hockey for the Olympics. If there is a women's hockey league, I will start following it because I like hockey. I do not know if the women have fisticuffs, but I love the American Hockey League. When the Olympics was on, when the women's played hockey, you bet your ass, my ass was sitting right at the TV watching the U.S. Olympic hockey team and the Canadian Olympic hockey team. But I don't know how I can find ladies hockey on TV. Plus, I don't have cable, so that's a stretch, you know. But regular hockey does come on the Hockey Channel. And I call it regular hockey because it's men's hockey. So, I mean, they don't really showcase the ladies' hockey. And if they do, it must come on at a time where Echo Fang Grey Wolf ass is dead sleep. But in all honesty and in all fairness, if us normal people are going to bitch about transgender women competing in the sports with women and little girls, why is there not a transgender league? So let me advocate for the transgender. For all you millions of millionaires out here that own baseball, football, basketball, hockey, golf teams, and shit like that, why aren't y'all doing that for the transgender community so you can stop bitching and complaining when they're breaking all these records? Now, also in my videos, let me apologize because I worded the shit wrong. I said transgender records when I shouldn't have said transgender records. What I should have said was a lot of the young transgender teenage girls are beating all of the cisgendered, I hope I'm wording this right, female records. Right? You don't really hear too much of that from the female transitioning to the male record thing because I don't know if they even compete. But I know generally it's only an issue when a transgender female competes with normal females or cis females. Somebody help me out. I don't know how to word this shit correctly. But that's when it becomes an issue. So, what's going on with all you millionaires? That there's money to be made. These transgender sports people are kicking ass and competing with cisgender or normal people. And y'all can't all get together and say, hey, let's get a transgender league. So the transgender people can compete, and that way none of the cis people or normal people can keep complaining about this shit. Now, I may be wrong. And I don't want anybody from the alphabet community coming at me because I'm actually trying to look out for y'all versus like my normal people. Because my normal people are the only ones complaining. Literally, they're the only ones complaining. Alright, now again with the Fallon Fox thing, that's where I'm on the fence. Alright? I'm on the fence because I can't really hate Fallon Fox. She didn't do a damn thing to me. She just competed and pretty much assassinated the person in the ring with her. I saw the fight. I had to see it on YouTube, but I saw the fight. And that's where my bias comes in. Alright? Because that was like a brutal beating. That wasn't necessary. You know? And the women were the main ones complaining, and then Joe Rogan brought it to the forefront, so that kind of ate it up right there. But in all honesty, Fallon Fox does have the right to compete in the female league because she is legally a female. Now, granted, yeah, she's transgender. Okay, big fucking whoop. But see, only the non-transgender females are the ones complaining. Same thing with other females that are in Olympic teams or any sports team, including high school, not so much middle school and grade school, but this is mostly a high school, college to professional problem. So, solve the fucking problem. Give the transgender community their own sports league, where transgender females can compete against transgender females, where transgender males can compete against transgender males. And then you can give it a academy and a world and a global thing, just like you've done with the NBA, the WNBA, the LPGA, the regular golf. You know, these problems aren't that damn difficult to fix. They really aren't. People just aren't trying to solve them. You know, it's kind of like racism. Racism will always exist because no one wants to sit in an uncomfortable room with an uncomfortable question of why you don't like me because of my skin tone and my culture. No one wants to be on the other side of, I don't like you because your skin is brown. I don't like you because you do rain dances. I don't like you because your people used to hunt with bow and arrows instead of rifles and shit like that. You know, okay, it's a very uncomfortable question. I know, you're thinking, what's the relevance? This is relevant because being prejudiced towards transgender people is what this is about. Now, if you watch that video, if you go back and find the young lady from the TikTok, she said it wasn't that simple. And she's right and wrong at the same time. It is a complete shade of gray. But, like I said, you know, if you have transgender wrestling, and in the independent leagues, you know, no quarter given, no quarter gained. Whereas my future wife says, no fucks to give. Women do compete against men in the independents. Now, like WWE, AEW, and Impact, those like the big boys, they tend to have rules where if it's an intergender tag team match, the women fight the women, the men fight the men, and every now and again, a woman will fuck a man up just for the win. And then if you watched last week with Matt Cardona, who fucked up Mickey James, which was a fucking dick move, dude. But any fucking how. That being said, see, this is where your bias comes in, because honestly, I'm not against it, but I'm not for it. Now, if his wife, whatever the hell her name was, would have just handled Mickey James by herself, I would have been okay with that. But Matt Cardona attacking, or Zack Ryder attacking Mickey James, and then letting his wife do the damage, I'm really not down with that. And yet I know it's all part of the show, because I am an avid wrestling fan. I was told when I was younger I was too small to compete as wrestling. I was too small to be in the UFC and all that shit. Okay, so my glory days are long gone for real fighting, or in that aspect of it. However, that doesn't change the fact that I can fight. However, that is irrelevant to the video. What is relevant to the video is that if I have to get into a ring with a transgender male who used to be female, and I win, it's a win-lose. You see what I'm saying? Now, she could be 125 pounds and 5'3", just like me. We can be evenly matched in fighting records. I'm still going to have the advantage of natural strength versus her strength. Unless she's on steroids, which she can't be on steroids, but she can be on testosterone, which would hopefully flatten out her boobage and, you know, distribute the weight somewhere else. I don't know how that shit works, y'all. Let's not even pretend like I'm a fucking doctor. I do not know how that shit works. I know that transgender females take estrogen, as transgender males take testosterone to develop manly parts, and the female take estrogen to develop the female parts. I'm fucking this shit up. I'm totally fucking this shit up. And I own that I'm fucking it up because I don't fucking live that lifestyle. I am what you call a so-called normal person. And I say so-called because what's normal now, I'm Generation X. We fought against labels and you guys are all fighting for labels, so I'm like totally fucking this shit up. So I apologize to whoever I'm offending in this entire broadcast, whether you be normal or whether you live in the alphabet community. The point being made is this: the alphabet community deserves their own sports league. They really do. That way the non-alphabet community, the community in which I live in, can shut the fuck up and stop crying and complaining about them beating all of the female records. As it goes in there, I'm a female today, I'm going to be a track and field star. I'm going to outrun everybody. And now the fastest female who record I just beat will be complaining. That's where I'm going with that. Hopefully that made some sense, because that's how this shit started in the first goddamn place. And it started in news broadcasting, and it started with everybody being mad about transgender females whooping ass on the track, whooping ass in the weight room, whooping ass in wrestling, whooping ass in all kinds of other shit. Now, if you're not up to speed in the kids division, since very few sports have girls in them, they let the girls compete with the boys. And the girls have been beating the fuck out of normal little boys. There's a girl I follow, I can't remember her name, she's a little kid, she's blonde, and she's a wrestler, and she beats the fuck out of boys on the mat all the time. And as far as I know, she hasn't lost yet. There's also another wrestler or a jiu-jitsu girl that I follow on YouTube and on TikTok. She's, I'm going to just say she's of Asian descent, and she hasn't lost. And she's also beaten boys. And if you go far back, a few years back, there was a 3 or 4 year old kickboxer in Thailand who was a girl who was beating the fuck out of boys. And she was like 3 or 4 years old. She's beating the shit out of boys. She wasn't fighting against girls, she was fighting against boys because girls just didn't compete in that shit. Ladies rarely compete in certain sports. And in the certain sports that they do compete in is where the transgender women have come in and started dominating, which is how we got here. Hopefully I got all that out in one breath and y'all clearly understanding where I'm coming from. All I can see is me, so I don't get any of y'all reactions, and I do not know how much time I have left on this power of this thing. I'm going to get ready to end the video with this. To all you millionaires out there who own baseball, football, basketball, and hockey teams, because there are owners, just like the people who own the stadiums, that rent out the stadiums so that these millionaire owners of these teams can have their teams compete. What's taking y'all so long? Get your heads together, pull them out of your ass, and form a transgender or alphabet squad community of sports. That way, normal people like me, or so-called normal people like me, can stop bitching and complaining that transgender people are breaking all the records, and we can all stop being the fucking crybabies that we are. Okay? Now, on a personal note, I don't really give a fuck if a transgender female wants to compete with the females or not. I don't really give a fuck if a transgender male wants to compete with the males or not. As long as y'all know the dangers of sports and you're not trying to purposely hurt people. And again, I gave Fallon Fox a really hard time in this video, so I'm sorry to Fallon Fox. But, you know, she's the prime example of where I don't really think the female transgender should be versus where I praise Nyla Rose for doing wrestling. Now, if Fallon Fox was a wrestler, I would have no fucking problem. Because wrestling is combat, but it is well proficient and well monitored. And 9 times out of 10, if a male is going to compete with the female, it is not to the extent where they're making people bleed versus where it's MMA, you know, mixed martial arts. You are going to hurt someone doing that shit. Now, granted, I'm going to say this before I end this video because a lot of people don't understand this, and I will say this. The female body is actually way tougher than a male's body. It might not seem that way because everybody raises their daughters to be all girly and soft and all that shit, but I promise you, anybody who can push another human being out their body is way tougher than somebody who can just bust a little bit of a load of semen to create that new life. And I want you guys to think about that. Women are way tougher than they give themselves credit to. And men, we're tough as fuck too, but women are physically tougher because they have to carry a life and they have to push that life out. Now, as far as like transgender and all that shit, They're still just people. They just have a different lifestyle. And we have to accept them. Whether you like it or not, you still got to accept them. And that's the thing, you know, you got to get over your fears and your phobias and shit like that. And you have to at least respect the fact that they're human. So, I've got this video completely twisted up. And I hope that I made some salient points and that I taught you guys some things. And like I said, for transgender in the wrestling world, I'm not against it. It's just that MMA is a little bit more brutal. Alright? So that's where your confusion is. So to be honest, like if I'm in a ring and I'm fighting a transgender male, I know physically and skill-wise that I'm probably stronger and more equipped to win this fight. Not gonna say I'm gonna win it in the first round. Maybe back in my 20s, you know. But at that same time, I laid out the stats. I'm 5'3", she's 5'3". Oh, excuse me. I'm 5'3", he's 5'3". And now we're both 125. And both of our records is 1-0. So now we're going to get each other to see who's going to be 1-1. As in 1 victory and 0 losses. No knockouts. So now we're going to fight. Is it going to be fair? It's as fair as it's going to get. Because being that she transitioned to a man, she still has less testosterone than me, no matter how much they jacked up her juice. Alright? Now, as far as her fighting abilities, if she hasn't been training as long as me, it's going to be at any given Sunday moment for her to win. But if we've been training roughly for the same few years, like if she's been training since she was 6 years old, and I've been training since I was 7, but fighting since I was 6, it's going to be a slobber knocker, and it's going to boil down to who can go the distance, who can take the beating, alright? And that's how it works. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say I was transitioning into a female. I'm 5'3", I'm competing against a girl who's 5'3", I've got more fighting experience, I'm probably going to level the floor with her, which is not fair. See where the bias comes in? Especially as a martial artist, I have to say, you know, even though I gave Fallon Fox a hard time, I'm in the wrong for giving her a hard time, but am I in the wrong because martial arts is way more brutal in MMA than it is when you watch it in wrestling. Alright? Wrestling, we're putting on a show. In MMA, it's a little bit more of a brutal show. But it's a brutal show with more relaxed rules because your referee knows what you're going to do and what you're not supposed to do. So if we're both women and we're in there and I'm transitioning and she's a full-on, naturally born woman, I have the mere strength advantage just because of athletic paralysis and genetics. Where if she was fighting a normal female, it would be evenly matched. So therefore, that's where we're getting at with that whole Fallon Fox thing. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that there should be a transgender league? I can't be the only one who says that there should be a transgender league so that transgender people can compete amongst themselves and with their own, set brand new records to put normal records to shame, and then everybody can just shut the fuck up and stop crying. Now, if you don't like that, I'm sorry. If you're normal and you're not with me on that, okay, cool. But if you think about that, then think about the money that you're not making because you decided, well, we don't want them to compete in normal sports for women or men, but we don't want to give them a league of their own where they can make money for us, compete globally, because transgender is not just something that's stuck in America. You know, it's not just an American thing. It is everywhere. That community is bigger than you think. So why can't we give them their own league? And if you don't like me slightly what's the word I'm looking for? Advocating. If you don't like me advocating for them, you know, that's more of a you problem than a me problem. Because like I said, I admit that I have my biases. I just spoke about them with the whole Fallon Fox thing. I spoke about them with the transgender females fighting normal or cis females. You know, that's where my bias is. But yet, at that same time, hypocritically speaking, I didn't have a problem with the native beast competing in wrestling against females, but she's also competed against males. So, You're going to have to figure out one way or the other. There's money to be made if you give the transgender people a shot. If you give them their own league, you're not going to lose anything. If anything, you're going to gain more than you lose. And that's just my 2 cents on that shit. You don't have to like it. You don't have to believe it. And it's okay. I'm Echo Fang Grey Wolf. Have a great day. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. I can't find a cursor, but be seeing you. We're in that. Okay, let's